When looking at the greatest, most popular horror franchises, Halloween immediately springs to mind. That's not to say that every Halloween film is great, but the series is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in the genre. Across 13 movies, we've had some fantastic ones, some decent ones, and some truly awful ones. Plus, several different timelines, of course. So, with Halloween season now upon us, what better time to look back on these visits to Haddonfield? With that in mind, I'm Andrew from What Culture Horror, and here's every Halloween movie ranked worst to best. Number 13, Halloween Resurrection. Yes, of course, this one's here. Anticipation was actually relatively high for Halloween Resurrection, with its predecessor Halloween H20 a welcome return for the franchise. Not to mention, Halloween 2 director Rick Rosenthal was back in the chair to helm this 2002 picture. To be fair, the idea of placing fame-seeking wannabes in the Myers house on Halloween night for a live stream, that was actually quite a novel concept at the time. The problem is, it was tough to root for any of those wannabes, as they were just so annoying. Add in the opening scene death of Laurie Strode, the ridiculous explanation of how Michael survived H20, that sequence of Busta Rhymes using Kung Fu to get the better of the shape, and it's easy to see why this picture soured so many. Number 12, Halloween 2, 2009. Rob Zombie's 2007 Halloween tried to do something a little different with Michael Myers, with Zombie bringing his traditional, grimy, washed-out tone to the franchise and opting to flesh out Michael's backstory. While that film split opinion, its 2009 sequel took that little different of its predecessor and turned the volume up to 11. Actually, scrap that, the volume was more like 111 for Halloween 2. There was a whole bunch of nonsense with Michael seeing visions of a white horse and his deceased mother. Dr. Loomis was an utterly detestable prick. Laurie Strode had her own spiral into violent insanity, and the overall mantra for Halloween 2 was cramming as much excessive gore in as possible. Zombies should be commended for trying to bring fresh ideas to the Halloween IP, but the vast majority of those ideas backfired in a major way on Halloween 2. Number 11, Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers. The sixth film in the series, but the first sequel not to feature a number in its title. 1995's Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers took the fumbled ball of Halloween 5: The Revenge of Michael Myers and fully finished the job. Yes, The Curse of Michael Myers infamously brought the Cult of Thorn to the fore. With that, it was revealed that Michael was part of a curse which meant he had to kill his own bloodline, and thus the movie has him first kill off his niece Jamie Lloyd before the Shape is on the hunt for Jamie's newborn baby boy. Oh, and there's also insinuations that Michael is actually the father of this baby. Yeah, that's not cool. There's a couple of decent kills, the electrification of John Strode for example, but other than that, this sixth movie is best known for starring a pre-fame Paul Rudd and for being the final Halloween movie for the legendary Donald Pleasence. Number 10, Halloween 5: The Revenge of Michael Myers. As alluded to, Halloween 5: The Revenge of Michael Myers started a major decline for the franchise. This fifth picture offered up the possibility of Michael working with his niece Jamie Lloyd under his wing. Would Jamie be able to resist her murderous urges? Would she usurp her uncle as Haddonfield's most brutal killer? How would the town cope with not one but two maniacs on the loose? Nah, none of that. Instead, Halloween 5 made Jamie a deaf mute with a telepathic bond to Michael. And what about the foster mother the youngster had attacked with a pair of scissors at the end of Halloween 4? Yeah, that was nicely brushed over too. The Curse of Michael Myers would tank the series and cause it to be rebooted, but that rot started with The Revenge of Michael Myers. Number 9, Halloween Ends. Billed as the final confrontation between Michael Myers and Laurie Strode, Halloween Ends did serve that up. Well, kind of, and only in the film's final 15 minutes or so. Rather than the promised Michael versus Laurie battle, the bulk of the film focused on Corey Cunningham, a newly introduced character who descends down his own path of villainy. Granted, it was a bold move to have Michael's axe from the 1978 film leave such a lasting stain on Haddonfield in terms of mistrust and trauma, and it was likewise brave to show how one unfortunate accident can spiral into a series of events that eventually push someone to breaking point. But seriously, read the room. Corey was an interesting figure and made for a fascinating character study, but putting him front and centre at the expense of Michael and Laurie? Nah man, that was a total misfire. Number 8, Halloween 2007. Bringing his familiar visceral tone and palette to Haddonfield, Rob Zombie opted to spend a good chunk of his first Halloween focusing on the troubled home and school life of young Michael Myers. Of course, whether we needed to see what made Michael who he is, that's a wider debate. After all, less is so often more. Still, cast-wise, Zombie's Halloween features a slew of genre favourites, such as Deep Breath, Malcolm McDowell, Brad Dourif, Scout Taylor Compton, Danielle Harris, Tyler Mane, Bill Moseley, Bill Forsyth, Sherry Moon Zombie, Dee Wallace, Ken Foray, Sid Haig, Udo Kier, Danny Trejo, and Leslie Easterbrook. The 2007 reboot was clearly a mixed bag and one of the most opinion-splitting movies in the franchise, but if nothing else, Rob Zombie should at least get some credit for going all in on making his sort of Halloween film. Plus, at least there were no visions of white horses yet. Number 7. Halloween Kills. Halloween Kills loses its way a little during its second half, but there's still plenty to appreciate about the second leg of David Gordon Green's trilogy, not least the impressive opening flashback to the events of Halloween 1978 and the arrest of Michael Myers. Another bonus of Halloween Kills is the return of the Tommy Doyle, Lindsay Wallace, Lonnie Alarm, Lee Brackett and Marion Chambers characters. Still, 40 years since Michael's original rampage, these Haddonfield residents are celebrating, only to soon realise the Shape is back in town, showing the trauma, fear, and ultimately resolve such a tragedy can place on the community. It is an interesting angle, but seriously, the mob hunting down Michael with the intent to kill, then beating him to death but not checking the job has been finished, yeah, that just makes the residents of Haddonfield look like idiots. Number 6. Halloween 2018. Ignoring every movie bar John Carpenter's 1978 original, the 2018 Halloween picked things up 40 years after the night he came home. In those years, Michael Myers has remained institutionalized, while a grizzled, hard-drinking Laurie Strode has remained ready, to the extent that Laurie's laser vision on a Michael return has distanced her from her own family. Of course, Myers makes his escape on the eve of Halloween, with that escape eventually revealed to have been orchestrated by Dr. Sartain, Michael's psychiatrist and a former student of one Sam Loomis. For Sartain, he wanted to see the Shape out in the wild, which was always going to end well, not least for Sartain, who is soon killed. An intense, fiery finale follows with Laurie, her daughter Karen, and granddaughter Allison locking Michael in Strode's basement and setting him ablaze, but not before the Shape got to nicely add a few more victims to his kill list. Number 5. Halloween 4. The Return of Michael Myers. Without any sense of hyperbole, upon a first watch, Halloween The Return of Michael Myers has one of the most jaw-dropping, game-changing final scenes in horror history. Yes, really, it does. Not only did Halloween 4 bring Michael back from his Halloween 3 absence, but the film also introduced us to the Shape's niece, as in the daughter of Laurie Strode, and that'd be Jamie Lloyd. After a loose-lived ambulance worker makes mention of Michael having a niece, Myers awakens from a 10-year coma to head to Haddonfield and track down Jamie, all with the ever-erratic Sam Loomis in tow. The film itself is solid if not spectacular, with Ellie Cornell particularly impressing as Jamie's foster sister Rachel, but it's those closing moments where Halloween 4 leaves you rocked to your core. With Michael having been dispatched down a mine shaft by a local mob, the final moments reveal Jamie, adorned in a clown outfit similar to young Michael at the start of the first Halloween, stabbing her foster mother with a pair of scissors, all as Dr. Loomis screams on in terror. It is absolutely fantastic, and was totally not followed up on in any meaningful way, which makes it very frustrating. Number 4. Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Lambasted at the time of its 1982 release, and in the initial years following that, Tommy Lee Wallace's Halloween 3 Season of the Witch was missing one key component. That'd be Michael Myers. Of course, this is the point where it's decided that the Halloween franchise was to become an anthology series, with each new movie being their own standalone tale set in and around Halloween. As such, Season of the Witch removed Michael from the chessboard. If you can get past the Michael-shaped hole, something which audiences didn't do for years of course, Season of the Witch is a fantastic movie in its own right. Taking a more sci-fi horror slant, Halloween 3 sees Tom Atkins' Don Chalice and Stacey Nelkin's Ellie Grimbridge delving deep into the ominous Silver Shamrock Factory, and their unique Halloween masks that are being heavily marketed. Masks which threaten to turn people's brains to mush and maggots when Halloween night rolls around. Number 3. Halloween H20. After back-to-back stinkers with the 5th and 6th movies, Halloween H20 arrived in 1998 and opted to change the timeline, ignoring anything but the first 2 Halloweens. In this rejigged timeline, Laurie Strode never had a daughter, and instead she had a now teenage son, John. Laurie Strode also wasn't known as Laurie Strode by this point either, for she'd faked her death and gone into hiding under the name of Kerry Tate. Now, the headmistress of Hillcrest Academy, Kerry's world is once more flipped upside down when Michael discovers her location and targets this private school. H20 was a welcome return to form for the franchise, with it also a welcome return for Jamie Lee Curtis back in the Laurie role, a role she'd not played for 17 years by this point. Part of the horror boom of the late 90s, this 7th Halloween picture felt fresh, felt vibrant, and absolutely got the franchise back on track. Well, until Halloween Resurrection arrived 4 years later and came up with a total BS way to get out of beheading Michael at age 20's clothes. Number 2. Halloween 2, 1981. Much like Jaws 2, Rick Rosenthal's Halloween 2 is one of the most underrated sequels in horror history. Matching John Carpenter's Halloween was always going to be an impossible task, and because Halloween 2 didn't manage to do that, some immediately wrote the film off. But seriously, this 1981 sequel is an absolute belter, picking the action up in the immediate aftermath of the closing moments of Carpenter's classic. With Michael Myers having vanished at the end of that first Halloween, here we have Sam Loomis and Sheriff Brackett on the hunt for the masked murderer, all while Laurie Strode is rushed off to hospital following her encounter with Michael. There's so much to love about Halloween 2, with the hospital setting working wonderfully, Donald Pleasance getting to showcase Loomis's iron will to track down Michael, the death of Pamela Susan Shoop's Nurse Bailey being an all-timer of a kill, and the fiery finale serving as likely the best finale of the entire Halloween franchise. Number 1. Halloween 1978. Yes, the original Halloween is one of those movies that you forever remember when and where you first watched it, such is the impact of John Carpenter's iconic 1978 film. What is there left to say about that first trip to Haddonfield? The score, the autumnal palette, the cinematography, the performances, the characters, Michael Myers' immediately impactful look, that opening sequence and its shocking reveal, everything about this film just works, and works oh so well. In Laurie Strode, Carpenter and writer-producer Deborah Hill, and of course Jamie Lee Curtis, gave us one of the greatest protagonists in horror. In Michael, they gave us one of the greatest villains in horror. With the musical beats and that theme, Carpenter gave us one of the most memorable scores in horror, and with the stunning, striking colours, cinematographer Dean Cundey helped give us one of the most iconic settings in horror. Halloween is one of those rare perfect movies, revolutionising horror and standing up to countless rewatches 45 years after its release. So that's every Halloween movie ranked worst to best. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, turn those notification bells on, and come and give us a follow on X at What Culture Horror. While you're there, you can find myself at Culture Left Peck, but most importantly, be sure to have the best possible day. Whether you're doing something or whether you're doing absolutely nothing, I hope it goes well for you. And if things aren't going so well, I really do hope they turn around as soon as possible. I've been Andrew Paul from What Culture Horror, and I'll catch you down the road.